2026 is the year that talent development becomes critical business infrastructure as opposed to something that HR does, a program that HR runs in a siloed way. Why does it matter so much this year? If you haven't noticed, AI has become incredibly powerful, and month over month, it's getting better and better at writing code for us, doing tasks for us. People can build their own agents with zero tech experience. And so this means that we need to double down on the human skills that only we can do so that we can best leverage AI and we can become the most innovative and creative and market competitive organizations and teams that we can possibly be. So that means how we care for, how we challenge, how we develop and grow our people becomes mission critical like never before. Everyone has always said talent is our number one resource, but now it's pretty critical that people have some fundamental skills, and talent development is going to be, I believe, needs to be at the critical forefront of how we make our organizations, how we bring them into this time of massive technological disruption so that we can win. But here's the problem. Even if HR has all of this great ambition to do these things, we need our people out in the field implementing skills. And that means the critical role that we depend on for that to happen is managers. It's always been this way. Managers are the linchpin of culture. Now they're also the linchpin of skill development because we no longer have a shelf life of skills that will last years. You used to be able to learn a skill, back in the 80s, it would be valuable for 10 years before you needed to upgrade it, learn a new skill, learn a new coding language, learn a new, program or a technology or whatever it is. Today, that shelf life of skills is months. You can learn something and then you need to build upon it months later. And there's no way that any sort of organized infrastructure can keep up with that. What you need is managers in the flow of work, in the day-to-day, coaching their people, believing in their people, challenging their people, and equipping them with the skills, the opportunities, the tools, the coaching that they need so that they can grow and do and be their best. But the challenge is managers have always struggled to coach their people. It's hard for them to have critical conversations. It's hard for them to have the right information they need. It's hard for them to do even, the existing programs we have, like performance reviews. It takes so much time, so much effort. How are they actually giving tough feedback to their employees when they've never been trained and they've never had great examples before them of how to do this? Or even if they have had great examples before them, and even if they have been trained, managers still continue to report that they feel ill-equipped, that even if they do what they've been trained in, or even if they do what worked for them, it doesn't work for all of their people. And that's why employee engagement surveys continue to show us year after year that people don't feel supported by their manager. People don't feel like they're getting helpful feedback from their managers. And this is all ripe for change right now in 2026 because we have tools today that we couldn't have even had last year. We have technology and capability today that can scale personalized support to every single manager and every single person in the entire organization so that talent development is at the forefront of bringing our organizations into the age of AI. Because let's be real, simply training people has never worked enough. It creates incredibly valuable experiences, and people do get great epiphanies. But then implementing it back into the workday, if you think of that 70-20-10 model, getting it into that 70% of application has been elusive. It has been just beyond our fingertips for so long. We think, I've trained them. We've done the workshop. We've created the opportunity, or people asked for it. We created it and they didn't come. We have been living that cycle over and over for decades. And today in 2026, it does not need to be that way anymore. And you are equipped with so much more that can actually take all that data that you have, their talent reviews, their performance reviews, 360s, IDPs, employee engagement surveys, career paths, skills, all of that can come together to be coaching and developing your people every single day in the flow of work. We need to make our organizations move faster, which means we need to make our people grow and develop faster. So taking managers out of their flow of work and training them is not going to work in 2026. First of all, we're all losing resources. The economy remains incredibly unstable and uncertain. The stock market is up and down. We are in a time where the economy has not been stable or predictable for many years. And so we're continuously slimming down. And when that happens, we all know that talent and learning and HR lose resources. And serving our managers has always been something we want to do, but takes a ton of resources because there's so many managers. And so oftentimes organizations can't even do that. And even if they can, what they are doing is they are removing their managers from their flow of work, from the moments that are stressful, from the application, and they're putting them in a safe environment to learn a concept and to have a cohort of peers around them. But let's say we teach them a concept on how to give feedback, and they go back into their flow of work and they're really stressed out. And in the moment, something crazy happens when they've got 2 minutes between meetings. Is that a time they can give feedback? What if they remember the framework? What if they try it? Then that's a win. But what if they don't because they're just busy and they're just stressed? That's more likely what is to happen. But even if, let's say they implement that framework, and let's say it worked, and then let's say they try the same thing again 5 days later with another employee, chances are it's not going to work with that other employee because no two people are the same. Break all the rules. A book that came out decades ago, I think, it said you cannot manage any two people the same. You cannot expect any two people to respond the same to a one-size-fits-all framework. And so what happens is that manager tries it again with a different employee who doesn't respond well to it, and then the manager feels defeated. And then they forget that framework and they move on with their day. And they move on with their months. And then your employee engagement survey comes on back and it says, once again, your managers are not coaching their people and people don't feel like they're getting the feedback that helps them develop and grow in their careers. And one of the biggest reasons is actually what's happening inside of all of our brains. We are living in a time of great scarcity inside of many of our organizations, right? I didn't have enough time to finish that project before this meeting started. And in this meeting, I don't have enough influence. And in this meeting, I don't have enough information about what we're supposed to be deciding on. And you know what? We don't have enough time to filter through to the right thing. We've got to go. We have to move because we don't have enough market competitiveness. We don't have enough market share. There's so much happening that makes us feel scarcity in our organizations. And that flips our brain into a place of fear, which literally shuts down the parts of our brain that can imagine, that can create, that can relate, that can take other people's perspectives, that can feel empathy, which means when you have people from different departments trying to communicate with each other, but they're in a place of scarcity and fear, they do not have parts of their brain working that can actually curiously listen to each other. That is shut down. But like I said earlier, if your managers are not coaching their people, your organization is slowing down at a time when you need it to speed up. And this is why we need to rely on technology today that can make learning and coaching and development available to every single individual in a highly personalized way like never before. It can understand your latest performance review, who your manager is, who's in the meeting you're walking into, what your development goals are, what your skills are, what courses you've taken in the LMS. It can understand all of these things and come right to you in your Microsoft Teams or your Slack or your email. So imagine this for a manager. An AI coach can come to them and say, hey, remember this. In 5 minutes when you meet with this person, here's something you're working on with them. Remember this. Hey, do you want to practice this conversation real quick? We can hop in 2 minutes to a quick role play to get your mind in the right place to give this feedback to the employee. Imagine if that was happening across every single team inside your organization. Not only are your managers relieved, supported, not with frameworks, but with a deep understanding of their situation, their employees are then getting coached and developed. And hey, imagine if that employee also, walking into that meeting, got something right before it as well, saying, it seems like you have been talking to me, the AI coach, about this with your manager. Here's a tip for you. If everyone was getting that kind of highly developed out personalized coaching inside your organization, you will have not only increased psychological safety, people who feel invested into, managers who feel equipped and supported, people who are growing and developing. You're also going to have a flow of information like never before. Miscommunications that used to get critical information locked between people just not understanding each other now becomes relationships where people believe in the good in each other and can communicate effectively their perspective and can listen effectively to the perspectives and the differing needs and the differing goals and the differing priorities of other people and other departments. And with that flow of information, with more emotionally intelligent folks in your organization, that's when you get creativity, innovation, to whole new problems that we've never experienced before. One of the key areas where talent leaders can make an impact on the organization is through performance reviews. And right now, we all know the story. It's so common. A manager and an employee have a performance review, and let's assume the best. Let's assume the manager actually did have a really productive coaching conversation with that employee. They identified an area for improvement. They both agree. They're both clear on it. Unfortunately, in most circumstances, once they leave that conversation, most of that doesn't get brought up again because they're back into back-to-back meetings or into out-of-scope projects or in loss of budget or needing more budget or, just all of the problems that come in day-to-day and all of the different conversations that they forget what they talked about. And it's not out of any poor intention. It's just out of busyness. It's out of the fact that the market and the world and products and technology just keep changing and we're busy and we need to keep up with it. And then, fast forward 6 or 12 months to your next performance review, manager looks back on what did we talk about last time and realizes, oh crap, I as the manager didn't keep coaching my employee in that. Or they think, oh, the employee didn't own their development and they didn't step it up there. Either way, it feels like something or someone failed. And I'd actually like to assert that, we're not going to change big systems here. We're not going to change people's minds and how they work to just always be able to remember. What we can change is how we use technology to meet people in those stressful moments, in those busy moments, in those seconds between meetings, and be able to give them the insight they need to remember what was on their performance review and apply it to what they're walking into, what's happening in their day-to-day. Because unfortunately, usually after a performance cycle ends, the goal is documented in a system that nobody is working within. Maybe you have the success rate of it turns into an individual development plan, and then that sits in a system where maybe somebody logs in once or twice or maybe 5 times a year, but they're not going to it as consistently as they're going to their email, to their messaging apps, to their conversations with coworkers. Because we're just busy. It's no malintent. It's just the flow of work is very strong. It's very full of things that we need to think about that consume our minds. And so we need to get those goals out of those systems and into the places where people are having conversations, into the places where people are needing to focus all of their mental energy so that they can be successful. We think, hey, if I accomplish this goal, or if I can help people accomplish goals, we will be successful. But what is actually happening in people's day-to-day minds is, I need to get through this next conversation. I need to accomplish this overall project. Now, with an AI coach, it can break down all of that data and give you practical suggestions. And people can be chatting with it in their Microsoft Teams or their calendar or, through their email. And it can then break down, hey, here's the most important thing to your day. I know this because it's on your calendar. I know this because of past conversations the AI coach that I have had with you before. And it can then say, hey, here's the best way to apply this goal to today, to this next meeting, to this next project. Or here's how to work on this goal with somebody that is on your team and how they can help you through this. The truth is, this is so important to support and develop our leaders because there is one mistake that every organization makes, and I actually don't even know if it's avoidable. And it is that the people who get promoted to people leadership are the people who are really good at doing the job, doing the tasks, knowing the competency, the skills that they need to perform, but not necessarily at leading people. They don't necessarily have a track record of being really good at advocating for people, at developing people, at coaching their peers, at giving hard feedback. And that's okay. What's not okay is that we still haven't found a way to actually help and develop all of these leaders before they step into that leadership position, or at the very least, just in their first even 90 days or ongoing of being in that position. Even new leaders with the best of intentions who in interviews talked about how they want to support employees, talked about who developed them and how great it was for their career and how they want to give that back. Those good intentions don't withstand the stress of reality when the manager simply is a deer caught in headlights and does not know what to do. So let's find ways to support our managers in their first 90 days. Let's find ways that we can take the data we have on what matters to that manager. Who are they leading? What's their past performance review? What's their career pathing goals? What is true in the employee engagement surveys of that team? Let's find ways to take all that data along with who are they meeting with? What's happening on their calendar? What is their own development goal? And put those together with an AI coach that can come into their flow of work and nudge them before their one-on-ones, nudge them with the leadership competencies that matter to your organization, nudge them with whatever it is that they need, and give them outlets where they can practice conversations with role play, or where they can just process thoughts with an AI coach who will help them understand their own unique strengths and how to approach a situation. If we lean into AI coaching to support our employees every single day, to take our siloed HR data and put it in the flow of work with what matters to the employee, not what matters to HR or to leadership, but what matters to that person in that moment, in that day. When that becomes true, we need to find a whole new way to measure impact and ROI of our HR technology. Logins should not be the requirement anymore because people don't need another tool to log into. And logging in doesn't actually mean value was gained. Real value should come outside of a login in the flow of work. And AI can actually start to prove that real value, not just in something was clicked or an interaction happened, but in the quality, not just quantity of data. So what are people asking the AI coach about? What are people needing additional support in? Are managers actually having more of those coaching conversations? Are performance reviews being discussed weeks, months later? Are these goals being worked towards over time? All of that can be measured and can become visible to you. It used to be hidden in siloed conversations, and now it can be surfaced. This is all possible now in 2026. And if we don't get on this opportunity, we risk HR still being seen as check the box activities off to the side, where we're just trying to prove 20% of our organization logged into some tool once or twice this year. That is not value. That is not how we can really serve people, much less our organizations and our leadership and our budgets. We can serve individuals and the growth of our organization by personally developing every single individual in our organizations every single day in what matters most to them, in what is most stressful to them, or what is most exciting to them. We can do that with AI coaching. If you want to learn more on this subject, click the link in the description to download the 2026 AI Coaching Playbook for Talent Development. Thank you so much for watching this video. Download the playbook by using the link in the description.